shared with you today, I'm actually going to probably keep as our little intro piece. We've given you 3 new ideas: a multi-monitor system, a cockpit, and a wireless headset integrating everything. What I want to emphasize is all the stuff you've seen here is clunky pre-prototype design that we built in a clinical practice with trial and error, keeping what works and what doesn't. What we're bringing to the meeting is 2 or 3 iterations beyond each item you've seen. Relative to the monitors, they're going to float in space and be totally motorized and flexible. Relative to the vehicle driving in the cockpit, it's going to be a very sophisticated device with seamless motion of the table, going everywhere from a chair to a perch to a stand to a standing table to a standalone laptop desk. And the headset system will also be on display. This will all be live as a clinical enterprise, and the take-home message here is this makes no sense if you're smart, because it just doesn't. You have to try it out. Please do. Welcome to the monitor section of our movie. Thank you for your attention. I want to give the brief history of what we've done here in the Workspace Laboratory, Worcester. We started 3 or 4 or 5 years ago with the standard setup, which you see here, which is 2 monitors and a 30-inch monitor in landscape with 2 digital monitors. What we were struggling with was a separate computer system, separate keyboard, and it soon dawned on us that we should combine this to get rid of the ergonomic struggle of 2 keyboards and provide additional monitors. That resulted in what we call multiplex 6 monitor. We're going to go over to that section. So welcome to our life. A couple years later, what we did is we made a 6 monitor system on 1 computer. That was the first innovation. The second innovation was to take what you saw there as 2 digital monitors in landscape and make it 1 large digital monitor in portrait. We then did it a second time. What we realized was we had much greater magnification on a 1x1 display or a 2x2 display. We'll demonstrate that in a later iteration. We also, if you can see here, were able to run the other application much larger. We can actually read the small print, and again, this is a pet application. The whole point here is that when you have another computer system running, you might as well use these monitors to service that as well as the main PACS application, because you've got the monitor sitting there anyway. When we don't run the PET, let's see if I can get this down quickly. If you notice, we now have PACS monitor 3 and 4. Those never existed. Part of the transition that made this possible was my back surgery and my partner's back surgery. We had to stand. We couldn't sit anymore. As a result, we started doing this. And that was our foray into changing the cockpit and what you use to navigate the cockpit. As a result of this position, the head is a little bit back, a little bit up, and the head in a neutral position can subtend a portrait this big. That's hard when you're just sitting in the normal configuration. That was a key change. Continuing on the iteration of our multi-monitor quest, we brought the last thing that you saw to the New York Informatics meeting in 2015. I met Elliot Siegel, who said, that's great, but make 8 of them. So our first iteration, 1.0, is what you see here. It's a motorized system. We are now 2 iterations past this, but there's a key point to be made. While 8 monitors seem like an excessive amount, if you notice what we had before was a PAC system and a PET system. What we now have is the ability to show the outside PACS images that originally started the oncologic workup. We're in a very sophisticated practice. Most of our cases come from outside. And in fact, the 2 monitors are not excessive. And the point I make is if you could have a 3-car garage for not much extra cost, you'd probably take the 3-car garage because you're going to use it. We use it all the time. You don't know that though unless you have it. Additionally, these are $10,000, these are $1,000, and these over here from Korea are $350. If you notice, it's not that much different. I want to make a point about the ease with which this makes work flow, or about flow. You notice this is a chest exam with 6 time points. I've taken the vehicle in the middle out of the loop. We're going to describe that another time. But if you notice, for example, here's a vague density. Well, in a very quick look, you can look back. Maybe you wouldn't see this, maybe you would. But if you notice, maybe it's a little more conspicuous. Maybe this is a little more conspicuous. But by the way, maybe it was here, maybe it was here, maybe it was here, maybe it was not here. But the point is, instantaneously, when this time point comes up, you have 6 chest x-rays. There's nothing more efficient than that. And just as another example, when you have your hanging protocol set appropriately, we'll have an imaging study come up if it comes. There, hold on. This is a multi-CT time point. In a 2x2 arrangement, you can put 24 stacks up here, a magnifying chest if you want, and keep it out for reference. And in fact, if you want, you can use the application, and we're learning to drive this application much better, in a linked mode, and study 4 large time points sequentially. Now, what this has revolutionized is our ability, these are abdomens and chests, so they'll vary as we get lower in the set. This has revolutionized lung screening. Let's see if I can do it briefly. I want to emphasize the point that unless you're doing this, you can't appreciate. We've started a lung screening program, and if you notice, the magnification is inherent in the large image to begin with. You don't have to open and close windows. I can mag it up if I want, but the other issue is these are 4 time points. You could have more than that, and it's very easy in a link mode to assess, for example, oh my goodness, is this really a new thing or an old thing? And if I scroll back and forth, I look to a previous time point, no, no, no. Unchanged over 4 time points. Sometimes this goes back to 3 or 4 years. The speed with which this happens in practice is unbelievable. Here's another example. There's an area here, and if we go back, completely unchanged. And by the way, we might have had 6 time points going at once. What we realized, and in our global quest, is to build not a workspace, but a flow space. Everything has to flow because we are overwhelmed with the amount of steps and the number of widgets. What we decided was that not only was there a need for a redesign of this multi-monitor situation, which by the way is a completely different system when we get to the show. We also realized that this is a cockpit. There needs to be a seat in the pilot cockpit. We realized that sit-stand was the way to go. We realized that in fact seat shape has to change because in reality, when you sit-stand, if you figure out something like this, it's called perching. The Scandinavians do it, and in essence, it allows rotation, it allows lateral motion, and finally, if you walk me now, in the old days, if I was in a chair, I might be going like this and like this. Now, I fused here because of surgery, again, from disc disease. If you notice now, I can go like this, and I go like this, and my keyboard, I don't have it here, would be right here, and I go like this, and I go like this. If you notice, my head and neck are not turning at all. And you'll have to take it from me, but this is just as though someone is taking a film strip and moving it in front of my eyes. This has revolutionized what we do. It's extremely relaxing. It's kind of fun, but I might say it looks totally bizarre. And people might think we're crazy. In reality, you have to sit, what we're telling you reviewers, you have to sit down and do this. If I said to you windsurfing is fun, I couldn't write about it, I couldn't tell you, you'd have to do it. You must experience this. Those of us who have realize this is the way to go, and we can't go back. The key then was that this is becoming an interactive cockpit with a resident. We're in a teaching program. And the other thing we realized, which is even more important, is that a cockpit and a choreographed space between two operators, the residents now have their own drive. It's no different than driver education when we were kids. And the residents can now be active about what they do. They can drive, and more importantly, as you've seen the elaborate layers of mousing macros that are sophisticated, not unlike a computer game, they need to learn to play the game. We can teach them to play the game, but they have to do it with us. It's a totally interactive, proactive teaching learning experience. My residents like it, I like it. Much more enjoyable. It's the new paradigm for ACR 3.0. And the last piece of this is when clinicians come by, this is a theater. This is not images of the back of my head while I look at something and talk. These are large demonstration images, and it's been extremely well received for those dedicated clinicians who come down with very sophisticated problems. In fact, they can sit down and drive with us. The last piece of this, which I describe as the third pillar of three pillars that hold up our flow concept, is the notion that now that we have a multi-monitor horizon that is fluid, a vehicle to drive that horizon, we're becoming wireless. We have a wireless keyboard, a wireless mouse, and in fact a wireless headset or a wired headset. In the department setting, in the need to roll out a systematic approach, you're looking at someone who loves the camaraderie, joking, and socialization in our large viewing room. You're also seeing someone who doesn't like the noise associated with that when they have to focus on 8 monitors. So in that situation, I've built my own noise isolation headset. Noise isolation is not noise cancellation. Noise isolation is putting your hands over your ears. Opposed noise cancellation is good for jet engines. It's not good for all of us talking about a case 5 feet away. This gets rid of that. Once we started with the notion of what a radiologist hears, we decided to integrate all of the auditory ins and outs that exist in the workspace. It's no different than a pilot in a cockpit. The pilot has a headset that integrates everything. So I'm going to briefly demonstrate all those functions. I'm going to make one more point. This item is wired. It can also be wireless, and any system can plug into what is our prototype in this box, which is basically a series of amplified controllers in line with USB in to the computers. Now I hope this works. I'm going to put this on. I'm going to demonstrate, in essence, someone like my chief, Dr. Bader, who wants a wireless system. In fact, he wants one ear, and we have one-ear systems. We can have any appliance we want, wired or wireless. In this situation, I'll show you now. Hopefully it's going to work because we've been jumping around here. This is a test period. New paragraph. CT scan of the abdomen and pelvis. You may not see the text, but it's working. If I go over here, one other point, let's just go over here. If I go and I answer the phone, you'll have to trust me, I answer the phone, and I hear someone. While I'm talking on the phone, I can dictate. The big problem for radiologists is if you're on hold in the ER, you can't use the microphone because it's linked to the telephone. We developed a system that's live to the main dictation and the telephone. That was key. But once we decided to have this interface, we did the following. What's in this box can also go to any other device, a computer, an iPad, an iPhone. And I'm just going to show you very briefly, but just take it from me, we can connect to 6 other devices. In that situation, we would toggle the microphone and direct it to another device. So we'll see if we can pick this up here. The last piece we realized is that with an integrated wireless voice command cockpit seat, we can do many functions, all driven by the microphone. So I'm going to demonstrate very briefly some of the added advantages of the combination of a wireless interface, a smooth transition to many monitors and spaces, and voice dictation. One of the things I did not mention was that in this expanded horizon, we have a virtual computer. We also have, in this expanded horizon, select all, delete that. In this expanded horizon, we have a virtual computer. This can be a computer anywhere. This one happens to be in the next room, period. I also have one in my office, period. The chief of our department utilizes this same system. We call it the multiplexed administrative radiology system. It allows a virtual computer to manage personal email and other functions that are usually locked down by the hospital. It's very helpful. In addition, for example, I can watch some peaceful screen of whatever. I can listen to music, and I have that piped in at the moment. But I'm going to show you two more items. If you notice, we also have me duplexed into here. Select all, delete that. We can also do the same system with a personal laptop, which sometimes is more appropriate for information that you're using on the move. Finally, and I won't demonstrate it, maybe I will if we can catch it, I can dictate to my phone as well. It's probably not going to show, but take it from me. If I push a button, again, we're directing the mic for more unusual situations. We'll try it. This is a test period. This is a test. If you notice, we've recorded. Sorry, I'm not focusing on it at the moment, but there's a third option. So what we've discovered is we can seamlessly, without changing anything, talk to the phone. So what we've demonstrated is the wireless feature linked to the rotational cockpit, married to a curved array of an extended computer horizon. We've added a desktop with our own personal visual horizon. The ability to dictate to multiple sources at once without doing anything is profound. The primary need, as we've mentioned before, is to talk on the phone and dictate cases without being on hold and not being able to dictate. Our system allows both. Furthermore, with nominal button pushing, we can dictate to our personal laptop, we can dictate to a virtual computer, we can dictate to our iPhone, and we can have multiple other sources in and out. We found that integrating all these things has created what we call the administrative system. Those of us who have administrative duties and clinical duties do this routinely, toggling between an administrative computer and email and a radiology workstation. Thank you for your attention.